Hi guys, I'm going to be making some plantain salve today. No, I'm not talking about the banana. I'm talking about this little weed right here that grows in most people's yards. It's a broad leaf. You see that? Now it's also called nature's bandage. You can make a poultice out of this. You can put it on a wound. You can use leaves to cover it like a bandage. But I'm going to show you how to do it. First of all, if you have it, you can either pull this out and cut the roots off, or just tear the leaves. See these leaves? They just pull right off like that. See that? So we're going to be using just the leaves today. So I've had some in the house. I've had it drying out a little, and I'm going to be putting it in a food processor. So come on along. Okay, so what I've done with this, these are the 3 that I pulled from outside. So what I've done with this, I've washed it, got the dirt off. You don't have to be like freaky clean about it because you're going to put it through a cheesecloth anyway. So when I washed it, then I rolled it up in a towel and I squeezed most of the water out. So then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it in my food processor. Okay, so I have this little one. It's just a little Black & Decker. It belonged to my mother-in-law. And I use the snot out of this thing. I just use it all the time. You can use your big one if you want to. So I'm going to, let's see here. Hold on, I'm going to set this up so you guys can see it. Hold on. Okay, so just going to, you can tear it in if you want to. You can cut it in half. It doesn't really matter, just so it fits in there. And you want this really, finely ground. So I'm going to see if I can get all this in here. It's not really a long process, but once you get this all ground up, you have to let it set overnight, or for 24 hours. And then you're going to strain the juice out of it. And that juice that you strain out, that's what's going to be in your salve. When I post this video, I will put everything that the plantain salve is good for. Now, I'm not a doctor. I am certified in herbs and things like that, but you do this at your own risk, and you talk to your doctor about it, because one of the #1 things this is good for is diaper rash. So let me get this going here. One more time. Okay, so at this point, you can add a little bit of olive oil. Let's see. Sorry. Yeah, you can add a little bit of olive oil to help make it a little bit more smashed up or whatever. So I'm going to add a little olive oil to it. See, because it's all kind of chopped up pretty well. Okay. Okay, so now that it's at the point that it's all getting chopped up, you can take it out and you put it in a mason jar. Let me get this out of here. Put it in a mason jar. Oh boy. So when you put it in the mason jar, you're going to cover it with olive oil. Okay. Get all the little pieces. And I'm using extra virgin olive oil. And you want to make sure that it's covered. Okay, it's covered. You see that? So you want to cover it with olive oil, and if you want to, you could, if you have an immersion blender, you can put it in here real quick and, you know, do a couple little chops if you want to. And you're going to take cheesecloth and you're going to cover the jar with cheesecloth. So let me get my cloth. Okay, so get that all incorporated in there. Get the oil all incorporated. Move it around so there's no clumps. Make sure all of it is under the oil. Then you're going to put your cheesecloth on. I don't have a rubber band in the house to save me. So I'm going to use one of these hair ties, a clean hair tie. So that's what you're going to do with that. You see that? Now there's two other ways you can do this. You use a pot of water and you set it in there. Now this is going to go about, I don't know, 5 hours. You can use your crock pot if you want to, but if you use your crock pot, you have to use it on low and it has to go 12 to 24 hours. But so what you're actually doing is just heating up the olive oil and letting the plantain incorporate with the olive oil. So I have it on low, and it's 9:30 in the morning. So I'm gonna take this off probably, see, about 3:30 or 4:30. So when you do this, when you take it off, you can just turn it upside down and let it drain. Set it upside down somewhere and let it all drain out in a bowl. That way the plantain doesn't come out. So if you use your immersion blender to mix it all up, there's going to be little teeny particles of the plantain that come out when you strain this. And that's really cool because it looks really awesome in your salves when you go to sell it and stuff. And it adds a little flavor, or not a flavor, sorry, a nice little odor to it. So I'm going to let this go. I'll be back probably about, I don't know, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, something like that. I'll let you know how long that this has gone on. But at least it has to be about 5 hours, if not more, 5 to 24. If you want to set your crock pot up, like I told you, it's 12 to 24 hours in a crock pot. You just keep adding water and you just let it go, low and slow. So we'll be back when the time is up on this. Okay, so I have the plantain. It's been draining now. See that? So it's all dry. So all that can be thrown away. So now what's left is the olive oil infused plantain. Look at the nice dark green color. So what we're going to do right now is I have my own makeshift double boiler. I got water in this, and I'm going to be melting beeswax. I have my own beeswax. So I'm going to be putting just a chunk of my beeswax in this pan, and I'm going to be setting it in the water. And I know I should get a double boiler, but if I find one at the Goodwill, hey, then that's cool. But normally, if they see something that's together, like a double boiler, they take it apart and sell it piece by piece. So I don't want to spend the money. I just want to melt my wax. So I'm going to let the beeswax melt And then once that beeswax melts, you're going to pour in your plantain mixture in with the beeswax, and you can add a little bit of essential oil, and I like to add in tea tree oil. But with the plantain, I just love it. It's for, you can use it on sunburns, diaper rash, bee stings, what else? Poison ivy, spider bites, mosquito bites, and you can also make a poultice out of the leaves and put it on the area itself. I really, really like this. So I'm going to let this melt. And when you go to put your essential oil in, you want to make sure that the mixture is cool. And then you mix it up. I use a little chopstick, I'll show you, and then I pour it into my containers. So I'll be back after this melts. And I usually do low and slow. You don't want to burn your beeswax. It gets hot really quick and it's flammable. So you just want to do low and slow. And you know, use a double boiler. Do not put the beeswax in a pan and then melt it. That's a accident waiting to happen, guys. So I'll be back after the beeswax melts. Okay, the wax is just about melted. Just a little teeny piece left. I like to use these chopsticks, these little wooden chopsticks. I get them a bunch. I mean, I get a whole pack of them, you know, at the Goodwill or whatever. Every time I find them at the Goodwill, even barbecue skewers, the little wooden ones, I grab those at the Goodwill and yard sales and stuff like that, because I just toss them. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to pour your oil and your plantain in with the beeswax. Okay. And you want to mix it all together. Got to incorporate it. I want to make sure it's nice and mixed up. And when I mix it, when I stir it, I mean, you can't see anything that's you know, being stirred, but I want to mix it up with heat on both of them. Okay, looks pretty good. There's no particles floating around or nothing. You might get a little bit of your plantain in there when you've drained it, but that's fine. It gives it a little bit of nice color. Okay, so I want to add just a drop of tea tree oil. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to pour it into my containers. These are 2-ounce containers. I always set the containers on a Scott towel or something. I don't use Scott towels, so these are my non-Scott towels. Usually I get 4 containers. Oh, I got it right to the top. So that recipe that I just showed you, that makes 4 2-ounce containers. I'm going to try and get every drop. Okay. There we go. So now all you do is you just let it set, and that's it. And like I said, this is for sunburns, diaper rash, bee stings, poison ivy, mosquito bites. It has so many wonderful properties in it. It's just ridiculous. You know, people pull these weeds and they don't realize what they're pulling. So make sure I got everything here. I have it written down for you guys. So make sure that your plantain has not been sprayed, okay? You want nice clean plantain. This is also good for psoriasis and eczema. And yeah, bee stings, spider bites, any other bites. So yeah, it's got a lot of healing properties. It's called the Band-Aid plant. It's very soothing. It's anti-inflammatory. It's got a very soothing, cooling feeling on your skin. And it has anti-microbial activity in it. And it supports, it's got allotonin in it, and it supports your skin healing properties too. So it's got a nice green color to it, so I'm just going to let it sit here. This is going to be in my Etsy shop, and it's going to be $10 a canister. So it doesn't stay in my shop very long, guys. But my Etsy name is Old Hippie Homesteaders, just like my YouTube, just like my Instagram. Have a cool day, y'all.